Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to this episode of Send Better Emails. Before we kick off with the episode, I just wanted to introduce what's going to happen this week. We have a guest on, which is awesome. His name's Dan. He has run e-commerce stores two now successfully, and now he's helping e-com store owners grow their business with his coaching programs. Those coaching programs can be found on ecomcoach.io. I fully recommend checking them out. If you want to skip to the end of the episode, you can hear him talking about that in more detail. But without further ado, let's dig in. Welcome back to Send Better Emails. All right, James?
All right. How's it going?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good. James always hates it when I do this super American cheesy intro to our podcast, but it's a special one today. We've got a guest on, which we've only ever had one guest, and I met this guy at an event and thought, well, let's drag him on and see if he's got something interesting to say. So we've got Dan McClen with us today, and we're going to ask him some questions, and we're going to talk about growing an e-com store. We're excited for that. Thanks for joining us, Dan.
No problem. Yep. Drag me kicking and screaming.
Yeah.
Jamie, what was it about Dan that made you think he would be a good guest for the podcast?
So despite not having a beard, although Dan, you've made a good effort overnight.
Actually, I was going to say,
I didn't shave this morning. My beard game, but yeah, it's never going to be like that.
Yeah, we joked about this yesterday, but yeah, he's put in a strong effort there. Aside from being devilishly handsome, and the hunky accent, I think what was interesting for me is we met and he had run an e-commerce store successfully, exited it, then started or bought another brand and is running that, and also has a coaching program, and he buys Shopify apps, and we'll dig all into all of that in a bit, but it's just got a lot of e-com experience. And I thought, well, that's nice, because otherwise, people are bored of us whittling on about email marketing all the time. We might as well get some wider perspective on email marketing. So yeah,
tis the season for ecom experts.
Yeah, so Q4, and when again, we'll touch on the ecom coach side in a bit, Dan. But something that James and I really liked about the website was the kind of annotated revenue charts, right? And something I noticed is that you can see the Q4 bumps all the way through. Right. And I think something that you've obviously done quite well is each Q4 bump you've increased like exponentially each time. But we'll dig into how you did that in a bit, and how you're teaching other people to do that now. But to get us started, we'll do some quick fire questions. This is a new tradition, starting with you, Dan. But hopefully, unless it's shit and we're struggling through this section, we'll do this for the next guest as well, but let's see how it goes.
I think this could be the whole podcast, by the way. So
just these quick fire questions?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
I'm interested to see how this goes.
Okay. Well, we need to give Dan the opportunity to put a CTA in. So maybe the quick fire questions and then a Dan CTA. That'll be it. Okay, nice. So let's start with the first question. Dan, one book that you recommend anyone or everyone should read, and that can be fiction or non-fiction. Well, firstly, can you read?
Yeah. Well, to be fair, I spent a lot of time in cars, so I did a lot of audiobooks.
Okay, fine.
Not reading hundreds of audiobooks, but I can read.
Okay, good.
And I think the one that I always come back to, I'm not really sure why. Well, I do know why, but it's more so in my head, is like the it's The Psychology of Influence by Robert Cialdini, and the 7 sort of what's it called? It's the psychology of influence, right? So you've got 7 different factors: reciprocity, commitment, social proof. That you have to read through to find out the other ones. Like whenever I'm doing marketing in my ecom brands or with the apps or anything, I always come back to that of like, how can I influence somebody to take an action? You mentioned a CTA, so always come back to that one.
Nice. Okay, I actually haven't read that one. James, have you read?
No, I think I read a 15-minute synopsis of what it was about.
You could probably do that, yeah.
I feel like sometimes with those books, you kind of get everything from the intro, and then the rest is just sort of elaboration on top of that. So, yeah, I kind of know roughly what it's steering at, but haven't read it.
Nice. I actually think that's super smart to continue to remind yourself of that stuff as well, because that's those things that what the underlying foundation of marketing, right? And people can be obsessed with tactics as opposed to actually thinking about strategy from a psychological point of view. So yeah, I like that. I need to give that a read, clearly, or the 15-minute synopsis.
Yeah, do the 15 minutes.
Yeah,
I'm expecting big things from Dan's CTA later now.
Yeah.
really lay the foundation here.
Okay, try not to be sick at this next question, but one linked influencer. So who do you follow on LinkedIn that you think is worth following? Because they're few and far between, I have to say.
I do use LinkedIn for posting, but I don't actually scroll through. I don't really take in social media content.
Fair.
But when I was at the Ecom Collab Club where we met a couple of events ago, there was one of the founders of Perfect TED on there. They talked about EGC, which is employee generated content rather than user generated content.
Yeah.
And basically what they do is all of their employees, well, I'm assuming all of them, they encourage all of their employees to be EGCs. So putting out content on LinkedIn, I think mainly. I guess that's where their customer is. And yeah, I followed a few of the guys from Perfect TED, and I know that their content is really, really good. Like, it's good to see it from a brand's perspective rather than just from people like me trying to push their own narratives.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I would say they're good one to follow, especially comp brand.
What does Perfect TED do?
Oh, they sell matcha ready to drink.
Okay.
Cans.
Right. Okay. Fair. Nice. Okay. I like that. I'm going to check those guys out.
That's a really good. JB, you disappointed that it wasn't you?
Yeah. I wonder how long we have to run this podcast and how many guests we get before someone says me.
Probably, a long time.
A long time.
Long time.
Okay. Dan, do you subscribe to any newsletters?
I subscribe to a lot of newsletters.
Okay. Any of them worth reading? Okay.
Well, there's a few that I used to read when I was in the height of my e-com and learning. And I think the first one that pops to mind is Harry's marketing newsletter, I think it's called. Basically, he's a copywriter, and he just shows how, the same sentence put in a few different ways can really make a difference in terms of like CTA.
Humble brag down, but we've actually consulted on that newsletter with Harry.
There we go.
So I'm glad that you've mentioned that. That's as close as we can get to saying Jamie is a LinkedIn influencer.
Yeah.
a newsletter that we have had some sort of involvement in.
Yeah, bit of a stretch, but yeah, nice. Yeah. I think a lot of people love Harry Dry's marketing examples. I think I'm not subscribed myself. I need to get subscribed. Okay, next question, Dan. One person, or live or dead, to have dinner with, who would it be?
This might be boring, but like maybe Richard Branson. I don't know. I mean, if he's listening and wants to give me a sort of weekend trip to Necker Island, then
yeah, okay, fine.
I wouldn't say no.
Look, many a young man have been lured to an island under false pretenses, but maybe that one would be better.
He does listen to this podcast, though, Richard Branson.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, I think
he's a cyclist as well. So there we go.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that. We'll talk about cycling in a bit. One thing that you could ban, if you could ban from existence, what would it be?
Smoking, maybe.
Smoking. Okay.
Walking down the street by someone who's smoking. And
have you ever smoked yourself?
Oh no. Well, maybe after like, a night out or whatever, random.
Okay. Yeah.
But no, never.
I went to the dentist yesterday and they asked me if I smoke, and I said no. But I'm the same as you. I would have had like a night out cigarette here and there. So is answering no the honest answer? I guess I don't smoke.
Yeah, don't smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's worse, vaping or smoking cigarettes, Dan?
Oh, well, smoking, but vaping's also very annoying.
Yeah. Okay, fine.
Especially because people do that indoors now. And
yes,
but I quite like the smell of it. So it's
yeah, it just makes you cringe. You're basically sucking on a flavored battery. Yeah, I hate it. Okay, your biggest fuck up or situation you've had to pick yourself up from?
Oh God, there's been many over the years. Probably the one that was the most scary wasn't necessarily, well, I suppose it is a fuck up of mine because I didn't have another supplier, but basically I quit my job as an accountant, went full time into the business, my first business, Solace Jewellery. And I used to buy all the jewelry basically from a website from a supplier in Thailand. And it was like a big catalog of jewelry, and I would just select the ones that I wanted. Quit my job. When they make a big order, because I was like, right, we're going to go for this now. And the website wasn't there. So I was searching for the business name. I was searching everywhere. I couldn't find the supplier. And it was stainless steel jewelry. So it's not like your average, jewelry that people sell, or not then anyway. And I was searching on like Alibaba, and I was going, I literally cannot find another stainless steel jewelry manufacturer. And I was talking to my dad about it, because he was over in Asia at the time. And he was like, what are you on about? There's loads. And it's because he can't spell, and he spelled it the American way. And obviously all of the suppliers spell jewelry the American way. And he was like, there's loads of them. So for a couple of weeks, I was really panicking that I didn't have business anymore because of the supplier. So the fuck up of that is not to rely on one supplier if you've got a brand selling products. I learned that lesson and always had a few suppliers.
Nice.
And after that.
Okay. And it turned out okay in the end for Solace Jewellery.
It did, yeah.
Okay. Finally, your favorite memory or one thing that you're most proud of?
I mean, I've got two sons, so I should probably say them, right? But if we're going to go work,
that's a boring answer.
Yeah, if we're going to go work. I feel like it was actually knowing when enough was enough with Solace.
Okay.
So I'd grown it it was like a bedroom side hustle brand for 5 years, and then I quit my job, and I suppose we'll probably get into this later, but like for 5 years I then focused solidly on it, sleepless nights, the lot. And we getting to do really good numbers. And at that point I was like, I've had enough. I don't want to do it. And actually one of the proudest moments, I guess, was just knowing that was what it was, and actually looking to exit. And then, because I wasn't actually exiting necessarily for the money, although obviously that helps, but it was actually my sanity and, the sort of work-life balance and being able to spend more time with the kids and stuff. So, and cycling and whatever things that I want to do now. So yeah, it was actually knowing when enough was enough, and looking for an exit. And actually, I suppose having a business that somebody wanted to buy, like I kind of thought about that, and then within a couple of months I had a buyer, and I don't think that's very that's not normal, I don't think, when you're looking to sell a brand. So yeah, that's probably
nice,
something that I'm pretty proud of.
Yeah, awesome. How long did that sales process take?
I mean, the actual sale process took longer than finding a buyer.
Okay, right, fine.
It was really stressful 6 months, maybe a bit longer. And to be fair, that, compared to some businesses, to a lot of businesses that sell, it was relatively straightforward, but it was still really stressful.
Yeah. Did you have to stick around afterwards, or were you able to?
I was there for another year.
Oh, okay.
I had a 12-month earn-out period.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Nice. Okay, that's the end of the quickfire round. Thanks for answering those. Was that shit, or should we do that again next time? James?
Are you asking me? Yeah. No, I thought it was good. I thought it was good. Yeah, I liked it. I appreciated Dan's answers.
Okay.
Yeah, really good.
And finish now.
Yeah. See you later. Yeah, no, let's definitely do it again. I think we can make those questions fruitier as well.
Yeah. Okay. Some more. Have you got?
Dan's the first one, so he. But I feel like we could add like a slightly more awkward one in there each time.
Okay. All right. Do you want to add an awkward one on now?
No.
Do you have one in mind?
No.
What's your body count, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay.
So how many people have sacked or what?
Yeah.
Let's not go now.
Okay, nice. Well, I want to talk a little bit about your cycling next. James, do you want to ask cycling questions, or do you want to talk to Dan about his ecom business afterwards?
Yeah, I'll ask about cycling.
Okay.
By the way, I know nothing about cycling other than I had to do what's the cycling test that you had to do when you were in like year 6? The like cycling proficiency. I don't know. Did anyone else have to do that? Or was that just a Norwich thing?
No, I didn't have to do that.
You can ride on the roads and stuff.
Yeah, and you had to do, and you like passed or failed, and it was probably the most nervous I've ever been about anything. Was doing my cycling proficiency test, and my mum was volunteering. Anyway, it's about as complex as my childhood got, thankfully.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was probably the last time I was on a bike. So Dan, just apologies in advance. But yeah, I guess I've always been quite fascinated by the phenomenon of cycling. As sort of cycling as like an end in itself rather than just a means of getting somewhere. What got you into cycling?
Well, I was working behind a desk as an accountant for 10 years and put on a bit of weight and felt shit about myself. So I bought a Peloton like a lot of people did just before COVID and did some stupid challenge where I said I was going to cycle for a minimum of 30 minutes every day for 100 days. I did that, lost 2 and a bit stone, started eating healthy. My friend was really, really into cycling and he was like, why did you buy a Peloton? You could have bought a nice bike for that and come out on the road. And I was like, why would everyone do that? I'm not dressing in Lycra and, and then obviously got my fitness back. And he was like, right. At the end of COVID, he was like, I've just bought a new bike. Do you want to like come out for a ride? You can use my old bike. Went out and did 30 miles and I absolutely loved it. And the next day, I think I bought a road bike and all the kit. And yeah, then 3 or 4 years later, I bought a cycling brand, which is, I guess, why we're talking about cycling. But people might not know that. But yeah, so just fitness really. And then it turned into something that just really enjoyed and yeah.
Nice.
Gets you out.
Do the saddles hurt?
It does. So I said the first ride I did was 30 miles. The second one I did was 70 miles. And I could not feel anything downstairs for about 2 weeks.
Wow.
That is my biggest apprehension about going cycling.
You get used to it and then, yeah, it was all good.
Yeah. I have an exercise bike in the garage, which I never use now. But I went through a stage of using it a lot. And this is too much information, but I found that using it would make my testicles numb. And so I'd have like pins and needles as I came off it in that area. And I was like,
you wearing bib shorts?
Gym shorts?
No, bib shorts, the ones with the pad in it.
No.
Oh, well, there you go.
Okay. Bib shorts.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I ended up selling. That's the business Attacus that I sell bib shorts and jerseys.
And that helps that. I also think maybe the seat was too like chunky as well. Yeah, that might have not helped. But anyway. I
feel like I feel like those thin ones look more deadly though. Like the thin, like, I feel like they're the ones I'd want to steer away from. A nice wide fat one's fine.
They're just on the sit bone then, and it's how you sit as well.
Yeah.
Right,
people think you've got to sit upright, but actually if you sit forward, you're on your sit bone and then it's comfortable, but yeah.
Okay.
Wait, what's the sit bone?
Sit bone.
Like bone, that's his accent.
Sorry, Dad. I'm so sudden.
Do you know what? It's funny actually because where are you from, Dan? Originally,
Newcastle.
Our accountant is also Geordie, so we know 2 accountants, and both of them have the same accent. Anyway, it must be something in the war out there. Wow. So do you do events with like your cycling and stuff like that? Like, what's the toughest one you've done so far, or the one that you're most proud of?
The toughest one's probably the Fred Whitten. So it's 120 mile. It's in the Lake District, so it's up and down, 10,000 feet of elevation, or 10,000 meters of elevation, sorry. It's a big day. It's like 6 hours. But actually, that wasn't really the toughest because I've been training for years for that. So it's, I actually went into it thinking, right, I'll hold back. And by the end of it, I had loads of energy left. So
okay,
I obviously prepared for it quite well. So I wouldn't say that was even tough. Probably the toughest ride I've ever done. I was meeting suppliers in Italy and I just wanted to nip out for a quick ride. There's loads of mountains, like, 5 miles north of where their factory is. And there's one called Bassano del Grappa and it's 13 kilometers long.
Okay.
It's about 8%. I mean, if you've never cycled, you wouldn't know what that is. But around in the UK, for perspective, when you see like steep climbs, that's like 20%. So this is kind of like, it's tough, but it's doable, if you've got a relative fitness. But I landed at like 8 p.m, went to pick up the bike, didn't have any dinner because nothing was open. breakfast at the hotel wasn't served till 7, and I had to leave at 6 if I wanted to get this ride in. So I thought, I'll just nip into like a garage or something to get some food. None of the garages were open, and so I'd basically had no food.
Oh, wow.
And 13 kilometers is about 2 hours, I think. So basically 2 hours of like solid effort.
Oh, God.
But for some reason I thought, well, I've done loads of 100-mile rides. Like, this is basically 13 kilometers, which is what, 8 miles or 9 miles. And then I'm going down. And when you go down, you don't pedal. So I was like, I'm basically only riding for 8 miles. Yeah, that was bad. By the end of it, I was literally like a snail's pace at the top. Some like 80-year-old guy, which he looked fit as anything, to be fair, just went past me like I was going still. I was like, oh my God, what is happening? Got to the top. But thankfully, there was a cafe at the top. So smashed a couple of bags of Haribo. But then, yeah, that was like, I was just determined not to stop, because if I stopped, I was done. But yeah, I managed to get to the top of that. That's probably the hardest, like just mentally grueling. Like, I've just got to get through this moment in cycling.
Interesting, you went for Haribo at the top.
Yeah,
to refuel.
Yes.
Good pure sugar. It's great. Pure energy.
Okay, nice.
You cycled in the rain, Dan?
Yeah, well, I used to. I've actually, I can't remember the last time I was on my bike now, probably like 3 weeks ago. I've actually taken up the gym, and I tend to do this in the winter because it's, horrible outside. So I've got like a turbo trainer, so I set that up inside, but I haven't bothered to do that yet. I've just been running and going to the gym. But yeah, fair weather cyclist mainly.
Okay.
Yeah, no judgment here.
I have a brother-in-law who is massively into cycling, and he'll do these events where you're basically camping by the roadside overnight and then carrying on your cycle ride. And he keeps trying to invite me to go on the bike with him, and I'm just like, it's just not me at all. But yeah, fair play. Nice. So let's talk a little bit about your ecom stores then. So you had the jewelry brand, which was called Solace Jewellery, and then Attacus Cycling. Like, just quickly paint the picture, like top level, what's the story there? So from accountant to jewelry store owner to then cycling store owner to now, like, what does that journey look like?
Yeah. So I was an apprentice at the time, like learning to be an accountant, and my girlfriend at the time had metal allergies, so she would wear earrings and her ears would flare up and she wouldn't be able to wear them. So it was basically just trying to find a present for her. That's how it all started. And in looking at that, in looking into that, I realized that it was a huge problem. Like 1 in 7 people suffer from metal allergies and can't wear like your everyday jewelry. So that turned into finding a supplier. Had a really sort of low barrier. There was only one person selling it retail at that time, and it was all like skulls, and I ended up buying that brand in the end. So it was that was a competitor, but so that started out, and then all of a sudden it was like my mom was like, "Oh yeah, I have that problem," and friends were saying that they had that problem. So yeah, I bought, I think it was like £100 worth of jewelry. Bear in mind, these are like £1, £2, pairs of earrings. So quite a lot of quantity, but not a huge amount of, I guess, outlay in terms of cash. So gave them out. Girlfriend was like, yeah, I can finally wear these. My mom was like, yep, I can wear them. So I was like, okay, I got something. And then, just basically when I was finished my work, I would then just like log on to Shopify and start building the website, and got caught a few times at work, but thankfully my boss was pretty cool. So he was like, he was all right. But yeah, just like I say, for 5 years, that was just sort of sideline business. I would have like waves of motivation. My mom ended up packing the orders because I wanted to go out and stuff out in New York. So for 5 years it was just slow and steady, but it was growing, and got to head of finance. So I was like, yep, this is like the peak of the job that I would want, and I hated it. And Solace was doing about 8,000 a month, like not enough anywhere near enough to pay me a salary. But I thought, right, I'm gonna give it a go here. So I'd saved up about 6 months worth of like bills and stuff. I was like, right, give it a go. Quit my job, lost my supplier, thankfully found another supplier, and then sort of over the next 5 years built it to multiple millions in revenue and exited it. Wanted a business, like obviously didn't want to just be like, right, that's it now, I'm not doing anything. So, but I wanted a business that I was actually interested in. So a cycling clothing brand that I'd kind of bought some of their jerseys and stuff. We're going through a bit of a tough time, so I just reached out to them and said, look, would you be open to selling the business? So I bought it off them, but it was quite distressed at the time. I think it was only doing about 30,000 revenue a year, but it had lost quite a bit of money that year. And then over the next 18 months, turned that into, I guess, 250K, I think we're on track to do this year. And I mean, it wasn't great unit economics, just to be honest. It was more of a passion project than something I thought it was going to be like really profitable, but kind of done that, and I wanted something that was fun. So break even-ish. So it's not a great, I guess, success story in terms of profit, but I guess it's just the concept of growing the store and, you know, I guess going from a loss to break even and having fun with it I was happy with that.
Okay.
And then, now also help other e-commerce founders. I've got a couple of sort of consultancy clients and of buying Shopify apps. So that's my main business is the Shopify apps.
Nice. Cool.
Dan, have you...
Go on,
sorry, Jamie. Have you ever seen anyone wearing Attacus whilst on a cycle ride yourself or at an event?
Yeah, it was quite a couple of years ago. It was really quite a big brand. I mean, nowhere near the likes of Rafa and like big brands, but they're throwing, I think Rafa lost 12 million last year or the year before because they're just throwing money at marketing. So it's like really hard to compete because they've got the lion's share of the market. But yeah, a couple of events I've been at. Even I was out in Belgium. It was a really sort of popular cycling event called Tour of Flanders. Saw a couple of people wearing Attacus jerseys, the same one that my friend had on actually. So like cycling side by side, and that was cool. But yeah,
nice.
It's quite a well recognized brand in the cycling industry.
Nice.
Good stuff. We'll talk a little bit about the kind of e-commerce coaching and app stuff in a bit. Just quickly on these e-com stores, I want to ask you a few questions, and hopefully, you know, listeners can kind of take something away from what you've learned and what you've kind of done over the few years. Just quickly sum up for me, if we were to imagine that there are pillars that every e-commerce store needs, or levers that they need to be able to pull, and we're talking quite like high level terms here, like what were the things that really moved the needle for you? And that might be like revenue, but it might be profitability, or it might have been something else. It might have been efficiency, which I guess then leads to profitability. But what are those pillars for you?
I mean, the first thing is the product, right? If you haven't got a good product, then you're never going to be able to scale. I think the second one is focusing on customer service, especially from my point of view. I think it's very hard to come up with something different that another brand isn't doing, or maybe like a bigger brand. But you've got to think about how you can differentiate from those businesses. So I think having really good customer service, like one of the things I always teach is like having the best returns policy. You know, if you have a really good product and you trust in it, why not have a 100-day returns policy if your competitor has 30? Because that just gives you more trust. I think the next one, obviously being an accountant, a bit boring, but like knowing your numbers. Like if you don't know how much profit you're making on a weekly basis or like per order, how can you scale that business? Like you're essentially driving blind. So you need to know if you can scale profitably. And also being close to your numbers, you can react quickly when something goes wrong. I think after that, it's like just improving all of the key metrics that I guess we'll talk about probably later on the e-com side of like just continually improving everything day by day. Like I think people just expect to be able to build £1 million business in a year, and that's just not the case. I think you have to stick at something for like 4 or 5 years to actually build something worthwhile and meaningful, and it's gonna be shit when you start, and you just gotta keep improving it like 1% a day, and then all of a sudden you're 37 times better year one, and then that compounds over time. So just not beating yourself up and just taking it slowly and being profitable and focusing on the important stuff, which is the product and the customer.
Nice. Okay. Actually, we were speaking beforehand and I was like, okay, what are some of the pillars? And I listed off some things that I thought were pillars, and I didn't even list kind of product and customer service and all those things. So that's really interesting. I think, where did you feel like you had that mix right at Solace? And are you still involved at Attacus? Are you still running Attacus?
No, I actually sold that business last month.
Oh, last month. Okay, fine. So yeah, do you feel like you got those right all of the time at Solace and Attacus or not?
Product and customer service, yes, for Solace, and knowing the numbers definitely on both businesses. With Attacus, I think I knew the numbers, but I knew the numbers were bad with Attacus, so I knew we couldn't scale profitably without some things changing, like whether or not the product had, because we, like I said, went to Italy, like it was all made in Italy, and the quantities we're buying were so low that we couldn't compete with the big guys, but they were like buying in bulk from Asia.
Yeah.
But like the quality was almost the same. So it was that chicken and egg of like, okay, do I just invest loads in inventory and try and ship it? Or do I build it with less margin with the hope to build the numbers and then go to a different supplier? So like I knew where the business needed to get to in terms of how to make it more profitable. But I think most people, or most business owners I know, that if I asked them how much profit they made last week, they wouldn't know. I think that's probably the most important one.
Okay.
Yeah, I think customer service and product were good on both. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. James, do you want to pitch in with a question?
Yeah, well, I would love to kind of gently introduce email marketing, given that this is send better emails. So I suppose just to sort of wade in, it would be great first just to understand, Dan, like what was your relationship with email marketing? Like, were you doing email marketing from the start? Was it something you did later? Were you doing it yourself? So yeah, tell me a little bit about how the email marketing worked at both of these businesses.
Yep. So yeah, email marketing, super important. I think no matter what brand you have, whether it's you're selling like a sofa, which is a one-off, or a subscription business where it's multiple, I think email is like the thing that's going to convert it. Because if you sell, for example, I'll talk about my businesses, but like if you're selling a sofa, how many people actually just go on the website and then buy day one? You know, it's like that sort of nurture, and like I call it taking someone from like never knowing your brand to actually trusting you. And it's really hard to do that in 30 seconds on a website. Whereas with email, you've got multiple touch points. So capturing the data and obviously using that to instill trust, I think is the two biggest things for email marketing. And then the supplement brands, obviously same thing of capturing it and trusting it, but then obviously you want to get that repeat purchase, and email is the number one tool for that. So my first hire at Solace was for a picker and packer. So she came in. This was when it was in the spare room of my house. But then we then replaced her with somebody else, and she went into email marketing. So like my first proper hire was progressed into email marketing, and it generated over 40% of revenue, I think, for Solace.
Nice.
I think when I first started focusing on it and getting the flows right and starting to send multiple emails, acquisition just became so much easier. So yeah, thankfully I focused on it really, really early, and it became a huge part of Solace. And then again, when I took over Attacus, it was the first thing I focused on. Nice. Literally the first thing that I focused on. So, and you guys haven't paid me to say that. So
no.
Yeah,
that is true. Yeah, like I said, working with a couple of businesses really pushed, email flows. Like some people are quite resistant to it, and I don't quite understand, because I'm like, it's just the highest ROI marketing tactic that you can do. Like, if you can double your sort of revenue per visitor by sending more or better emails, it's traffic you're already getting. So yeah, it's super powerful.
Nice.
There's a clip right there.
There's the clip. I mean, you basically said send better emails as well, so that was great.
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, I'm not going to expand on that, Dan, because I wanted that room to breathe, because people listen to us talking about how good email marketing is week on week, right? If they bothered to tune into this. And so to hear someone else talking about it is great in that way. So I think, the next question I wanted to ask was around the biggest mistakes you think that e-com brands make. And you've talked a little bit about customer service, about product, about how important you think email marketing is. So, there are all these things that are important, but what do you think is the single biggest mistake that you see a lot of e-com brands make?
I think it's just focusing on traffic, like traffic over everything else. People just want to double their traffic or like, more, just keep going with traffic. But obviously you have to have traffic to convert sales. But if you actually focus on increasing average order value, increasing your conversion rate, reducing your cost of goods, increasing retention rate with more emails, like you can literally double your profit on the same traffic. But people are just obsessed with Facebook ads and TikTok, and because that just is what everyone talks about.
Yeah.
But like I said, working with a couple of clients, and I've literally, pretty much doubled both of their businesses. Obviously not exclusively. It's, they're doing a lot as well, a lot of good stuff as well, but focusing on average order value, increasing that, changing the PDPs and the landing pages to get better conversion rates. Like, I don't think in either of those businesses there's been more traffic. It's just been, or maybe slightly, but like the majority of the lifts has been with stuff that like the traffic that they're already getting. So then it's more profitable because the ad spend hasn't necessarily changed. So it's just focusing on traffic rather than getting your email flow set up so your conversion rate's better, setting up a thank you flow so that you're getting 2 purchases instead of 1 from a customer. But it's everyone's just like, how can I get on TikTok Shop, or how can I get on Amazon, or how can I get wholesale orders? It's like, just focus on the process of making the most from every visitor. And that's the easiest way I've found anyway keep doubling your business.
I love that. That must be fun as well. I can imagine that one of the things that we like about email marketing is that you can conduct quite conclusive A/B tests, split tests, and really get an idea of, okay, this is what my audience responds to, and this isn't working like I thought it might. And I guess it's a similar thing, right? If you're optimizing a landing page on an e-commerce store, there's loads of these levers that you can pull and experiment with and get quite conclusive results. Were there any that stand out for you? Like any on the surface small changes? And I appreciate I'm totally ambushing you this question, Dan.
Yeah.
Any small changes that ended up making like a huge impact?
Yeah. I mean, one thing that again, this isn't just on landing pages, but this is on product pages. The biggest thing that has an impact is like those first images, right? So we tested relentlessly. Every week we'd have a different A/B test, and it used to drive my marketing manager wild. A different A/B test on landing pages, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But I don't think there's any like one thing, because we tested stuff that I was like, this is definitely going to win, and there's so many instances where it doesn't. So I don't think it's about any one thing. I think it's about the process of iterating and testing. Like you said, A/B testing emails, like your welcome flows, A/B test, and then when that's conclusive, A/B test again. And I think that's the thing that people should be focusing on, rather than the things that make a difference, because that's going to be different for every brand. But I mentioned like the images. I think people put up a photo of, I don't know, let's say a water bottle, right? So they'll put like this on a white background, and they might have somebody drinking from it. But where's the benefits? Where's the overlays for like pulling it apart with the bits that like actually are going to improve people's lives? Where's the comparisons against this versus like a different product? Like people flick through a product images way more than they read the copy. So if you focus all on your copy and then just have like 2 or 3 images, like you're leaving sort of prime real estate on the table, because you can get your returns policy in your images, you can get your money back guarantee there, you can get reviews in there, and people are going to see them. So if there's any A/B test I would encourage people to do, is just think about your product images as a story. Like, how's it, what's it going to do for you? How does it look in situ or in use? What are the benefits? What are other people saying? What's the guarantee? Like, overcome all objections and get as much as you can in that product image carousel. I think that's probably the biggest. I can't actually remember what the question is, and I've just gone off a tangent.
No.
That's the biggest, like, factor I think that people can do that will make a big difference.
Yeah, the question was small things that make a big difference. I think you've absolutely nailed it. Yeah, that's really cool. Going back to email marketing, Dan, when you've talked about how, okay, we're not going to put too much of an emphasis on traffic here. But of course, when you do get traffic, one of the big challenges for the email marketer is, okay, how can we convert as much of this traffic as possible onto an email list? Do you have any advice around that? Is there anything in particular that you did with your pop-up forms? Any, places where people could sign up?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I've actually got a course. I've got a blueprint for this actually.
Nice.
Because I absolutely hate 10% off. You see people going 10% off, and that is just click straight off of it. And again, it's all about testing. And it depends on what your focus is for the business. So if you've got a sale coming up, you just want as many people on that email list as possible, right? So maybe like a giveaway would be really good. If it's just regular business, if you've got the sale running, we'll go in sequence. If you have the sale running, I think just having that sale on the pop-up and maybe giving them like a little bit extra. So I don't know if you've got 50% sale off, maybe, to go with the cycling example, you give them a free pair of socks as well for signing up. Like, just make it more valuable. Like I always talk about like a con say no offer. So make it so that it would be stupid to say no, like 10% off, nobody really cares. And they know if they're going to come back in a week's time or a month's time, they're going to get the same thing. Whereas if you've got like a limited time offer or a limited giveaway, I think that, going back to the, the psychology of influence, that scarcity, having that, or I guess if it's just like an evergreen offer that you want to run, like really, really focus and nail that offer. So I mentioned like a free pair of socks, but like I feel like a giveaway is always better than like 10% off, because if you've got a product that's £50 and you give 10% off, that's £5, right? If you give something away that's £20, but it only costs you £3, so you're making more profit. The customer's getting something that's worth £20 in their eyes over £5 off.
Yeah.
And just using that as the lead magnet. And I think if you're not getting, I don't know what you guys will know this better than me, but I always use like the 10% rule. So if you're not converting 10% of your traffic into email capture, like you need to work on it. And this is another plug for the blueprint, I guess, but like I took one of the businesses that she does craft products, and she went from a 5% email capture rate, because it was just the standard 10% off. And all we did was do a mystery. I think it was a mystery gift, because I tested that, and that was one of the outliers that for Solace that won rather than 10% off. And it's gone up to like 18%. So all of a sudden, you've gone from 5% of your traffic to 18% of your traffic. And then obviously the email flows go out, and it's totally changed her business. It's massively changed. And it's such a simple change.
Yeah, that's awesome. I actually relish the challenge, because, you've got e-com brands that do just want to offer the percentage amount. And the problem with that is that any money that you offer off comes straight off the bottom line, right? Because, all the other costs stay the same. So, I relish the challenge when we have a brand and they say, oh, we don't do discounts. It's not part of our branding to offer discounts. It's like, okay, nice. We can do we can actually try some different stuff here. We can try to pull on some psychological levers, try just different tactics, etc.
Yeah.
I love the idea of scarcity as well. I think combining like a giveaway with like, we're going to give the next 50 people to sign to fill out this form, a free pair of cycling socks or whatever. That is, even if you're not, even if that's just always there, I think that's so compelling. Yeah, that's gold. Thank you.
Nice. Okay. Got a bit of an echo coming through your mic, James.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It's
lack of headphones. That'll be fix it in post.
Yeah, I'll fix it. Okay, Dan, just a quick question around what brands need to prepare for in the next 6 months. So what do you think is going to change in the e-com space over the next 6 months that people need to be ready for?
See, I always, when people talk about like AI and stuff like that, I just think, go back to basics. Like there is no tactic that's going to change the fact that just having the right fundamentals in place over the next 6 months is going to that's going to outperform any like tactic. Like, yes, of course, you've got, you know, using AI or whatever to try and increase your workflow, or, you know, or reduce your workload. Anyways, or like, you know, making better product images or whatever. So like, of course, there are things that are making things easier, but I still just come back to, you know, getting the fundamentals right, trying different things that are going to boost your average order value, trying, you know, the images on the PDP, or answering sort of questions on the PDP, getting the customer service right, getting your products right. You know, like inventory is so difficult to try, if you've got stock, to try and hold the right amount of stock. Like, they're the things that are going to mean that you scale or not. If you like, or like, I've gone down rabbit holes with ChatGPT and all sorts, and I lose days and days and days, and then I come out and I'm like, I haven't achieved anything, and I've just wasted 3 days of actually just building the business. So I know the temptation, but I think it's just getting the fundamentals. I think that's the
actually, I really agree with that. I think what we so often see is that Klaviyo will have AI features, and there's all kind of AI tools available, etc. But so often we're still seeing that brands just aren't doing the fundamental things right. You know, so you got all of this exciting stuff that's happening on the AI landscape, but people still only have like a one email welcome flow, and they don't have a checkout abandonment flow, and they're sending campaigns to the whole list instead of segments. Like, if people aren't still doing those things right, so there's still a whole host of opportunity there that people need to take advantage of first. So yeah, I completely agree with that. Okay. Just on, before we talk about Ecom Coach then, because we'll do that as the last thing, but what are 3 actions that brands should take tomorrow? And I guess this might just be a summary of everything we've spoken about in this episode so far, but
no, I think the first thing is just understanding your numbers. Like, if you don't know how much profit per order you're making, if you don't know how much money you should be making in the next 12 months, and week on week how much profit you've made, I think that's fundamental number one. Because if you throw fire on that by doing ads and you're losing money every order, then you're just exponentially, you know, making the problem worse, right? I think we've just talked about capturing more email addresses. I think that's probably one of the quickest and biggest wins that you can do. Obviously, you need to have an email flow that follows up and converts. And then just keep improving those metrics. I know it's boring. I'm kind of saying the same thing, but that's what I'm seeing is, in like every business owner that I've worked with on this, and every business I've worked on and bought, I've done the same thing, and it's always worked. You know, trying to outsmart that with different tactics, I think might work in the short term, but I think you need sound business. If you're going to run a business, you need sound business, like a direction of using your numbers, you know, and just trying to grow like 5% every month. Don't go for the moonshot, you know, because there's more likely chance that you're going to fail. And well, maybe don't not go for the moonshot, but maybe make that like 10% of what you do, and 90% go for the fundamentals that are going to improve. And that is just average order value, conversion rate, you know, cost of goods, retention, and traffic. Like, those 5 things can get you to 1 million and beyond by just continually improving them and focusing on them.
Nice. Okay, I really like that. Before we kind of wrap up then, let's talk about ecomcoach.io, which is the web address. So check that out. Dan is helping brands with the wealth of experience that he has as an accountant and as the owner of successful ecom stores. He's helping up brands earn more money, become more profitable, etc. So we've had a look at that website. We've been through. We like what we see about Dan. That's why we got him on as a guest. There's a quiz you can take. There's various different kind of coaching programs you can jump on as well. Dan, talk to us a little bit about Ecom Coach. Like, what was the vision? Why did you want to start doing this?
So I've been part of a thing called the NatWest Accelerator program, which
same. I was on that as well.
Yeah,
in London. Yeah.
So met a load of different people. And obviously as somebody who's had a bit of success, people always ask me questions. And I was kind of saying the same thing over and over again. And then again, people who I just meet generally in ecom, again, saying the same thing, not the same thing over and over again, but like a lot of the things go back to the fundamentals. So I think when you start, like I had to learn this all through books and podcasts and, consumed thousands and thousands of hours, and I've spent thousands on courses. So I kind of wanted to condense that into just almost like a system. And selfishly, I did it for myself, but because I'm interested in buying and scaling businesses. So I wanted the system for myself. And then I kind of just, like I said, with people coming to me, I was like, oh, well, try this. And I gave it away for free. And every single person had success with it. So I'm like, okay, maybe this is something that I can and start to do, because I really enjoyed that. Because like growing something for yourself, yes, that's great. But actually like the buzz I got from seeing somebody going from £5,000 to £10,000 a month and actually pay themselves, like that was a bigger buzz for me than making 10 grand of like myself on my own business. So I thought, right, how can I've got a few consultancy clients, but I can probably only take on one or two at a time because I've obviously got my own businesses. Whereas with the systems, I can, almost like the sell to many approach. So that's kind of how it started, and I've only just launched that last month. So, like I said, I've been giving it away. I think there's about 200 people downloaded it so far. So it's still really early days, but yeah, the feedback's been really good. And like I said, just for the buzz is the short answer. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think the e-commerce profit growth system, which is a great name, but that's available, right? And so, what do you get as part of that?
So it focuses on the 5 levers that I've mentioned.
Yeah.
Basically, that you put those numbers in instead of having loads and loads of data and metrics to track. It's just those 5 things. You put that in, it then gives you the path to essentially doubling your profit. And then you track that every month. So it's really simple. 5 figures. It'll take you 5 minutes to put in each month, but it'll give you the biggest area of growth. You've then got 50, I guess, tactics or strategies or different ways that you can grow the business, with a blog on how exactly you implement it, with some recommended apps. Oh, I forgot about that. I've just added, because there's not one size fits all in e-commerce. Like I mentioned, if you're selling a sofa or selling a supplement, it's very different. So you pick your business type, and then it kind of tells you where the biggest growth lever is.
Okay.
So like for sofa, it's obviously maximizing that first sale and conversion rate. For supplements, it's obviously getting the second sale. So like retention's more important. So you kind of know where to focus, and you've got the strategies, and you've got the play-by-play of how to implement it. And then I've also added in a meta ads like readiness checklist.
Nice.
So you go through there and you go, right, these are all the things that you need to have in place, like a welcome flow, like your email capture form. That if you don't have this in place, meta ads probably aren't going to work for you, or at least they're not going to be scalable.
Yeah.
So it kind of goes through the things of like what, not everything has to be perfect. It kind of says whether this bit has to be perfect or it has to be just like there. And so you can kind of benchmark yourself of, should I actually be running ads, or will they run profitably? So yes, I think that's like the key things that people want to see when you're doing. I mean, this works for like anywhere from 5 to 50, 100 grand a month. I think there'll be things to pick up on. And there's only, like I mentioned in that business, the email capture form, that was one thing on there that she changed that had a fundamental improvement on her business. Like, I'm selling this thing for like £100. Like that one thing alone will make her more in a week than it will the course. So
nice.
You don't necessarily have to do all 50 of them. Like these are all things that are proven and tested. And like I say, you can pick and choose from your business type. So hopefully I know that it is useful, but obviously people have never heard of me or whatever. That's the trust element for me to get there. So that's where the quiz comes in. If 5-minute quiz, couple of questions, so I can then really tailor the email flows to what they should be focused on. So I've spent a lot of time. I've probably spent the last year building this.
Nice.
Other things. So there's a lot of time and effort gone into it.
Yeah.
I'm not just trying to like sell a course, it's not really about the money. It's about helping people. So,
Nice. That's awesome. I think, just looking at it and hearing you talk about it, obviously sounds great. And it's something I will probably even recommend our clients, have a look at themselves. Cause, it's something that, it's only going to help them. Right. And I think it's also nice for us to be able to advise outside of our own perspective as well, because if it's advising on things outside of email, like, that's going to be helpful for them. But if what is in that thing is saying, okay, well, email's important, then that works in our favor as well. But but no, that's cool. I'm going to put the link to that in the show notes, so
thank you.
If you're interested in that, you can find that there, or you can go to ecomcoach.io. James, you look ready to ask a question.
If you've got the time, I appreciate we're getting near to 11.
Yeah.
I just want to ask about whether there's anyone who it isn't for. So, if I start an e-com store tomorrow, could it still be applicable to me? If I'm at a certain size, would it not be applicable anymore? What's the sweet spot?
Yeah, I think this is for, I think you have to have traffic coming in for because there are tactics to improve your traffic, but that's really like when the fundamentals are in place. It's definitely going to save you a lot of time in figuring out what the fundamentals are, and I always advise putting them in place before you go out and get traffic. A little bit of chicken and egg there, but there's no point in going and getting traffic if the website's not converting at all. So working on that. So there is value in it, definitely, for somebody starting out. I think if obviously if you're doing 100K a month or more, you've probably got a lot of this in place already. The people I speak to tend to be in that 5 to 50 mark. If you're doing 100K a month and you get one thing out of it, though, that's going to have an exponentially more return than somebody doing 5, because obviously the traffic and the amount of revenue you're generating is huge already. I would say I'm sure there's something that can be learned from business doing that. We were doing nearly $500,000 a month at some stages, and I was still working on almost the same stuff. How do I increase the average order value? So it's a system rather than it really is the system rather than the tactics. I think that's the value, continually improving. And that just gives you I suppose you could just do that in a spreadsheet, just track those 5 metrics. But yeah, I think a lot of the stuff is similar as you scale. It's just the risk level changes.
Yeah, and for the price point, this seems like an absolute no-brainer for me, if I'm honest.
People are paying me thousands for the consultancy, and this is the same stuff I'm almost teaching for thousands. That's not a plug. I need to use that as a plug.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, that's a good plug.
And just on the size of turnover, etc. We've definitely seen brands that are turning over between 100 and 500K a month that are still not doing so many things right, and just not doing some basics. And you just think, wow, okay, like you say, the opportunity is even bigger for those people. And so, yeah, definitely, if you're a brand that's in that space, don't overlook this, because sometimes it's some of those fundamental things that you're not doing that could be moving the needle in a big way.
Yeah, I always used to say, I'm doing all these things that are way beyond what businesses that were much bigger than me were doing, like email flows, all of those things. And I was seeing businesses scaling to millions and millions, and they were like, the fundamentals are just so basic. You can't do it. But I always thought, am I focusing on the wrong thing? Maybe I should just be focusing on traffic. However, I had all those fundamentals in place. So when I started running ads, I never hit a ceiling. I was doubling every couple of months, and it kept going. So I was like, that's why I did it, because I got them in place, and then I didn't hit plateaus. I didn't hit, any roadblocks. There were small ones along the way, but they were easy to overcome. Whereas I think a lot of businesses hit a ceiling, and then they have to go back and really think about the whole business again. Yeah. So I think this is a slow starter, but then it really helps you scale.
Nice.
Rather than scaling and then hitting a load of problems like you hear a lot of businesses do. Obviously, we haven't touched operations or anything, and that's a whole other world of pain. But
yeah,
from a marketing side, I think you can scale much faster and more consistent when you have these things in place.
Nice. Dan, I'm going to ask you two more quick questions, and then we'll wrap up. One, you're also you're buying apps as well at the moment as well. Talk to us very quickly about that and the kind of apps that you're working on, etc.
Yeah, so I guess the North Star is just to help people make more profit. So in e-commerce, so yeah, I wanted to have a go in the app space. I bought a reviews app called Trust Reviews. I think a lot of apps get developed by developers, not marketers, not people who've had e-commerce. There obviously are some, and I think they're the ones that do well. So yeah, reviews, I want to try and do things a little bit differently. So we've got a few features that I'm building at the moment that are going to help e-commerce businesses get more reviews. Things like A/B testing the reviews that go out, so that the more reviews you get in, obviously the more social proof, and really using that data to feed the operations. So like which products are maybe got problems that can be flagged so that they can be picked up the next time that you make an order, things like that. And I bought another app called Flashcart, which essentially replaces your cart with a slider that has, more trust. I'm going to integrate it with the reviews app so you can get your reviews in the cart, because that's the key buying decision, right? You've got motivators like spend X amount more to get free shipping. I want to spend X amount more to get a free product potentially, or tiered discounts. So I want to add that in there, and I want to add upsells. Upsells already in the cart drawer. But I want to do like AI upsells with potentially like doing discounts, maybe post-purchase upsells. So yeah, a lot to do, a lot of development work. And I've only got a developer team of one so far, and I'm not a developer. I always think these things can be done in like 10 minutes, and my developer tells me it's going to be months. So
right, okay, fine.
Struggling with the whole entrepreneurial dilemma of wanting things done yesterday.
Yeah.
But they will be solid apps, not just random features that may work. It's all things that are going to drive more profit.
Nice. Okay, one last question, Dan, and this might be feel like a bit of repetition, a bit of regurgitation, if I said that right here, but it's good for the clips afterwards. So Dan, what is your one e-commerce hot take?
Hot take. Okay, this is going to be probably quite boring to most people, but it's the thing that is going to make you win or lose, I think, is knowing your numbers. I think knowing how much profit you're going to make per order, creating a forecast so that you know how much profit you should be making, and then you can make decisions week on week based on how you're doing. I think that's the thing that set me apart from and kept the business growing, because as an accountant 10 years ago, I didn't know anything about marketing. I didn't know anything about emails. I didn't know anything about anything other than numbers, but I managed to turn that and learn the other things. But the things that kept me rooted and kept me profitable and kept the business going was the fact that we made profit from day one and we could reinvest that. And when we started scaling, I knew exactly how much profit we were making and how much we could spend per order. And when that wasn't, we pulled it back, and we went again with different creative, rather than just wasting loads of money and then running out of cash and having to either get into debt or raise money or just close the business, which I see so many people doing. So
yeah,
boring, but it's really, really important. And actually, I've got the spreadsheets that I use to do all of that. I give away on ecom, not give away, sorry. You can get on ecom coach as well. So
nice, it's all there.
Lots of time creating spreadsheets.
There you go. So know your numbers, but also send better emails. Let's try that one in as well. Okay, good stuff. So that's at ecomcoach.io. It's ecom with one M, right? Yeah, ecomcoach.io. Have a look at that. We'll put the link in the show notes. Dan, it's been a real pleasure having you on. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, cheers, Dan.
Cheers, Dan. It's been good to chat. And we'll leave it there. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Cheers.